And of course I have to wait until it says I'm live on YouTube. It usually takes a minute.
Alright.
There we go. We're about to start soon, guys. See, we got somebody in the chat. Give me 1 second and we will be ready to go. Time to monetize this and then we're going to go ahead and talk. Alright, on to YouTube Gaming. And then we get to play the whole intro music. So I'll be in the chat in just a few seconds to talk to the people. Let's do it. And now, the E Proxy Podcast. What's going on, guys? E Proxy here. Ravers, how you doing? Happy night there. Alright, we are here live with a good buddy of mine, Jeff. Alright? This guy here, he's freaking awesome, you know. He's got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here on the podcast, and we're gonna get that going right now. First of all, say what's up to the Ravers, Jeff. Let me hear you say hi.
Hey, what's going on, Raver Nation?
All right. Okay, we got 3 main topics to talk about, but first of all, let's go ahead and say hi to these people in the chat. What's going on, Pablo? Pablo says disliking because the guest isn't Pablo. Pablo, don't worry, man. You would have guessed the last you would have guessed the last 2 times, but hey, that doesn't mean you won't be a guest again. Just be patient, bud. Let's see. Help me polarize. Help me what?
With Pablo.
Oh, man. Magikarp, welcome to the stream. Pablo, welcome. Corey, welcome. All right, guys. First of all, Jeff, how are you doing tonight, buddy? How are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I'm feeling pretty fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show, actually.
Hey, my pleasure. Indeed, man. My pleasure. And I'm pretty sure these people are going to just enjoy listening to you talk. This podcast episode, I'm not going to be paying much attention to the chat, so get ready for that. And in the future, I may record the podcast and then upload it, just to see how that goes, because the last 2 episodes before this have been live. So anyway, on to the show. First, guys, all right, the main topic, as you can tell, is in the title. We're going to talk about the 16-year-old girl that chopped up an Uber driver with a stolen machete and a knife. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about 2 more topics. Injuries in mixed martial arts. Now, when I say injuries in mixed martial arts, I don't mean, a specific martial art. It's called mixed martial arts because, of the different type of martial arts. In this case, we're going to go and we're going to talk about, we're going to let you hear about injuries that's happened to Jeff, and then I'm going to talk about injuries that's happened to me. Jeff, I know for a fact, because we were talking about this before we went live on the podcast, about some injuries and stuff that's happened to you. There was one specific injury you were talking about. Tell the people, yeah. let the Ravens, yeah, let them know about that injury. Tell them how it happened. What you did to treat that injury, how you felt after the injury. First, tell them about it. Let them know what's going on. They're listening.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay. This one Proxy and I, we're actually like friends, like in real life, IRL. And way back in the day, I was running this house, and like we kind of basically turned it into our kind of MMA gym. So it was like he was kind of our instructor. It was me, him, and some of our buddies, right? And it was like part of one of the training exercises. One of our friends, like I was kind of squared up against him. He was like this big, tall guy, right? And I'm like 5'7" on a good day, so I'm kind of a short dude here. So yeah, so we're kind of going at it, and we're mostly focusing on punches, right? And this guy's got like long arms. He's like this big, huge, like he's built like Zangief from Street Fighter to that. And me, I'm just like little shrimp dude here. Like I'm like SpongeBob going against like anybody from the Street Fighter roster. Just not a good match at all. So as far as like, if you want good training for like people above your weight class, Proxy is a great trainer for that. But anyway, I guess getting to the injury itself, it's like this dude, he just got me, man. I don't know where my mind was at. Like he just hit me with a good, solid punch, like right upside the head. And I mean, I had like some martial arts experience before. I mean, I took martial arts as a kid. So I think the closest I'd ever had to that was like having the wind knocked out of me. So I mean, that's like, that kind of feels like you're at the brink of death itself. But that had like nothing on this just solid punch to the head. And I don't know, I might not be saying anything to anyone who's like, had like any serious experience, in the octagon or anything like that. But for someone who's not used to, just taking a hard punch like straight up like that to the head, it was almost like exactly like how it looks like on the cartoons. It's like my whole world like went to black for like a split second, and I saw like little flashes of light. I'm not sure if that's like a good thing or not. I think I was like, probably experiencing some level of a concussion in that moment, basically. But yeah, it was just like that. And next thing I know, I'm like on the ground, like I did this like kind of weird like spinny kind of move. I looked almost like a dog, like when they're like kind of like scraping their ass against the ground. I kind of did some weird kind of spinning variation of that. And next thing I know, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Just like, I was just done for the day. And apparently that kind of left me with this kind of blazing headache. I felt like it's like this huge migraine. I carried that for like about a week. So I just made, just kind of just some basic self-care precautions, just try to take it easy, relax as often as possible, try to, especially that first day, I made a point of staying awake. I knew like the first thing after taking a major blow like that, you don't want to fall asleep. So I made a point of staying awake, even if it meant like making sure my room was just a little extra cold, the sleep was at least, a little bit of extra comfortable that day. And just, making sure I don't know why. I'm not sure if it really helped or anything like that. I'm not a medical expert whatsoever, so this is only just what I did to survive, not like sage medical advice. But I made a point of just drinking lots of water, just kind of being careful of, how I exerted myself from then on, kind of until I felt like, I got my proper balance back. It took me a while even to get that kind of fixed. So I don't know. I probably should have went to a hospital. I don't know, but either way, just kind of taking some basic self-care sort of things, especially while it still felt manageable. I even told myself, okay, if this kind of persists or if things feel like they're going the other way, then I would, man up and go seek medical attention. But while it was still at that level where I still felt like I was able to control the situation, I kind of was extra careful with how I handled myself. It's not like, you take a, do something like that and then go skydiving. You don't, that's not the time to get reckless. So I guess, the long and short of it is, I guess you got to kind of know your body and just be a little, just kind of be a bit more conscious of, what's going on with you after something like that. So, just making sure, just taking those extra steps to take care of yourself and knowing when to, when to acknowledge that the situation is in over your head. So, again, not my expert medical advice, but I would figure that that's, pretty reasonable advice in any situation when your health is kind of, shaken up or compromised.
Okay, so, Jeff, you mentioned that you stayed awake. Now, some of the viewers might not understand why it's good to stay awake after a blow like that. Now, simply, guys, ravers, it's because, if you're concussed and you fall asleep, it's not going to be good because bad things will happen. can you go ahead and tell the Ravens what could possibly happen? What's a possibility if you fall asleep after being concussed? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to safely say that you were concussed on a small level after that hit because, guys, I was there and it was a really, really big hit. Just let them know why. Let them know why it's a good idea to be smart and stay awake after something like that.
Well, again, this is going from like just very limited knowledge from things I've seen on TV. It's kind of picked up here and there, and I've kind of accepted as just a general good rule of thumb with that sort of thing. But it's like, hey, you don't want to slip into. Well, at least my takeaway from that was I didn't want to slip into unconsciousness, in that state because, for one, I don't know the experience, how extreme it was. I assumed that everything was, in a manageable condition. Like, okay, hey, this is just a slightly harder hit on the head than normal. But I was afraid that, hey, with something like that, you could, go to sleep and, having no idea of what's actually going on with your body. So, you lose that sense of awareness for one thing. So for all I knew, I could have been had some brain hemorrhaging or something like that going on. But when you're asleep, you notice you don't feel pain when you're asleep. And
right.
Pain is your body's way of telling you, hey, something is wrong, something is not right, something needs to be, hey, this area needs attention. So, when you're asleep, you're not going to be aware of that. So I wanted to make sure I was aware of any, possibilities of the situation getting worse. So, especially during that first, the first few hours of that incident, when everything was at kind of peak kind of craziness as my body was still getting used to what was going on. So, I mean, if nothing else, that was the logic that I was operating on.
Right. And I mean, I can completely agree with you. In what I would say after an injury, go to sleep directly after it. No, don't listen to me because that's stupid. Don't go to sleep, okay? I would say, maybe about 4.5 to 5 hours after the injury would be safe to go to sleep. Then again, maybe not. It just depends on how severe the injury actually is. I mean, I think that you would agree that I'm right. Correct, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like, again, after anything like that happens, you're just going to be in that weird kind of adrenaline rush anyway. So, yeah, I think it was actually a lot easier to stay awake than it would have been to kind of go to sleep anyway.
Yeah, and okay. Well, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was about to say, even though it's like, you would think that after something like that, your natural urge would be to want to, try and sleep it off. But, I guess maybe because of the training that, led up to the incident, the adrenaline rush was, played a major factor in kind of helping me with my goal of staying awake. So, yeah.
Exactly. And before I go to the next thing, it's not the next topic, but it's just like something else that's regarding that. We're going to go ahead and read some of the comments from the people in the chat to kind of get that out of the way, let you know what they're saying. Okay, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, man. Let's see. We've there's been a lot of comments. Let's see. Wow. Magikarp says you can die. You can have breathing problems. Yeah, I mean you could. Hashtag coma. Bailey says. Bailey, welcome to the stream. And Bailey says, not to mention there's a spelling bee on her TV. That has nothing to do with it, but okay, there's a spelling bee on her TV. That's great. Sacrifice, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the podcast, guys. This all sounds very painful. It is very painful. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sacrifice.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so you were talking about an injury from prior training because you got punched in the freaking face. I remember that. Oh, old body hardening. Okay, if you guys ever do body hardening, remember, don't do skull hardening. You won't, you'll be able to toughen your skull up, but that's going to lead to a concussion, and you'll have to stay awake, and you'll be in the same type of pain Jeff was in. Am I right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I guess you could say that was an experiment in skull hardening gone wrong.
Oh, yeah, skull hardening gone wrong, indeed. Do you have any prior experience in wrestling or jiu-jitsu or anything like that, Jeff?
Taekwondo. I was, really serious about that when I was a kid, and in fact, that was where I first learned about, hardening in general. I had my shins hardened. And from years ago, and they're still pretty solid to this day. It's I feel like I might need to kind of go over them again. It's been several years, but yeah, I was really good at that. And snap, dude! If I had known it was going to go there, I would have actually sent you a clip of I recently got my high kick back.
Really?
So yeah, I'm really proud of that. When I was younger, I had this really impressive high kick, but it's And over the years, it kind of faded, but about a couple months ago, I kind of, just really trained myself to kind of try and get it back, and I made a little recording of it. But I might have to send that clip to you for the next showing or something. I don't know.
Definitely. If you send that to me, I will let the ravers see it. I'm pretty sure they would enjoy seeing your high kick, man. I know that.
Dude,
Say what?
Oh yeah. Yeah, basically, I was able to kick like over my fridge. Basically, I had like a bottle of like I think it was like Cheese Whiz or something like that, like kind of like on the top of my fridge. I was able to do like a spinning roundhouse kick and just like boom, knock it off without like hitting the fridge itself. So yeah, pretty proud of that. But, yeah, I will submit the clip, and yeah, you can actually show them that live, or well, not live, but whatever.
Hey, definitely do send that, man. I just had a little problem with the podcast here. Guys, when I record the podcast, I'm on Share Factory, so I have to make sure I have the controller turned on, all this yada yada. So if you see anything come up, stuff happens, just get over it. Don't say, oh, there was a mistake in the screen. Okay, I already know that. Anyway, did you have any injuries, Jeff, with Taekwondo? Any kind of head injuries, body injuries, or anything like that?
Let's see. Nothing severe, actually. I mean, again, like, I did the majority of my training was when I was about 11 or 12. So, I mean, again, we were little kids. So it's like, we couldn't really generate, like, huge amounts of force. I mean, I think the worst thing that had ever happened to me at that point was, like, I think I just got the wind knocked out of me, like, really good. And, like, the first time it happens, it's like, you feel like you're at the brink of death,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah. So, I mean, I think, like, that almost, like, traumatized me from, like, sparring for, like, 2 months. And I remember it was like this little blonde-haired girl. Like, she was the one who did that. So it's like I always like for like the rest of my time there, it took me about maybe a good like year and a half to like get over like fearing this girl. And it was like I had to kind of like realize it was a lucky hit. It's like, hey, that happens to like almost everybody, anybody. Just luck of the draw, and that happened to be my unlucky day. So yeah, it was like I would not wish that feeling on my worst enemy. It's like I don't know, like. Depending how I think about it, it's like sometimes, I guess, like for moment, that was worse than the concussion incident, really.
Okay.
But I mean, granted, it was a lot more short-lived, but yeah.
All right, I've got to say this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
A girl?
Yes, and I mean, I think she was actually younger than me, too. Like, I remember she was like, but granted, she was a higher ranking belt than me, though. She was a green belt, and I want to say I was an orange belt at the time.
Well, I don't know the rankings for Taekwondo, so you'll have to kind of
okay.
Yeah.
Basically, she was about, well, I don't know, I think we had like a 10 belt system, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy. But yeah, I think she was basically like a belt, and I think it was like orange, and then we had like a weird like intermediate phase, like orange with green stripes and then green belt. So she was basically a belt and a half above me, so to say.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, so I think she had been there maybe a little bit longer than me, so she kind of knew her stuff. But at the same time, she was slightly shorter than me, so I'm like, and she's a girl, so I'm like, I'm sure I could take a girl, whatever. Yeah, so that was kind of a humbling experience to say the least. And I feel like I almost had her too, the way I remember it anyway. I mean, I could be wrong, but the way I remembered it, I almost had her, but then she kind of like went low, and I thought she was gonna like go for like a deep shot, in the crotchal region.
Yeah.
But she ended up kind of like hitting a little bit higher than that, like getting me like right around the stomach, and kind of like this sort of upward thrusting punch uppercut kind of thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, it just like took all the wind out of me. Just bam, like Dragon Ball Z style. Like I could almost feel like my spine coming out of my back,
And in Taekwondo, it's a big point system, correct?
Actually, the way I was taught, well, yeah, traditionally it is, but like I was brought up in a more like a self-defense oriented style. So it's like my instructor was kind of wild. He taught us like the wild stuff first, and then after that, he tried to like. I guess afterwards he was like, oh man, like maybe I should try and groom them like more in the tournament style, and so he kind of gave us that option. But like by then we're like, nah, we're used to like fighting street style, so like none of us really went with that. But he offered us to kind of go that path, but I don't think any of us really took him seriously on that. We're like, no, we want to learn how to survive in these streets, bruh.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like you've had some pretty crazy experience in Taekwondo, man. So no wrestling or jiu-jitsu or anything like that, or no?
No. I remembered when I left England, I tried to kind of, to revisit martial arts again, but like a lot of the schools now this is like, in the late 90s, early 2000s, so MMA was not really a thing, or at least especially not as it exists today, like definitely not. So like MMA was not really an option for me back then, so all there really was in my area was, traditional Taekwondo, which was very different from what I was even brought up with. I mean, what I was brought up with was, I guess, for a lack of a better way of putting it, like a very proto MMA. So, I mean, but it didn't incorporate like jiu-jitsu. Well, not really a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I guess it was like a crash course in several different styles.
Okay, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said, did you say proto or croto MMA?
Like proto, like,
Okay, proto.
Yeah, like I guess like a almost like before, I think, well, MMA before MMA almost.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't know if I wanted to get you to explain that because I don't know if any of the viewers understood what that meant. I know I didn't know what it meant until now, so I'm glad you elaborated on that. Thank you, Jeff. Now continue saying what you were saying, bud.
Okay, so basically I was kind of brought up in a very unorthodox style of Taekwondo, and, everything else around me, like in this local area, was very tournament focused. So I tried that, and I don't know, I didn't really like the whole point structure to it. It was very hard for me to really get used to that, where I was used to more of a self-defense type of Taekwondo. So they're two very different styles to me, so. It was really a rough kind of transition. And I mean, like, I feel like I learned a few things from, like, a traditional style. Like, for instance, like in a self-defense course, we didn't really go over like katas, like the different forms and things like that. Like they basically look like the martial arts dances. Like you see those, and I just never really could get with them. And I was never a coordinated dancer anyway, so
yeah,
that was just not a thing for me. So
hey, you and I both, man. You and I both.
Yeah, so that's a very important part of traditional tournament-y style, classical, Taekwondo that I just my education in the art just like totally bypassed that. So, it's just things like that just really kind of separated me from, really engaging with it on that level at, after a certain point. So.
Okay, I understand.
So I just kind of settled with just kind of, staying in basic shape, just kind of, every now and again, just even around my room, I like to throw, kicks and punches around. And, as I explained, I recently kind of, disciplined myself into kind of getting back into form with my high kick, just little things like that.
Well, Jeff, okay, my question to you, man, I know you have lots of potential in the martial arts area. I know that for a fact. Have you thought about taking on any classes full time, man? I know as I said, we were talking before the podcast, and you were saying that, you're a full-time student, you don't really have a job right now, and you're looking for a job. Have you thought about taking any training classes of some sort of mixed martial arts?
Actually, the thought has crossed my mind. I mean, I feel like, you're not the only person who's acknowledged that potential, and I do feel like that is kind of one of those, passions, I guess, that I have inside me. It's like, it's not always like the one that's in the forefront, but it is, apparently one that is still there. So I have kind of considered, maybe seeing if I could find somewhere where I could be maybe an assistant instructor, or maybe, working my way up towards being like a full-time, martial arts instructor. Somehow, kind of actively getting back involved with that. And I also want to be a teacher anyway. So, I mean, that would be a great opportunity for me to, pass on what I've learned, and get myself back into the condition, back into the habit of, learning more as well, so, as they say, you learn a lot by teaching as well, so that would be, I feel like that would be the ideal way for me to get back into, the martial arts lifestyle, so that is something that I have kind of played around with, so okay. I would love to get to a point where I can actually make something like that happen for me, yeah.
See, I can understand what you were saying, you learn while you're teaching, simply because you might have some students that you try to teach things to, but they're doing the same thing, but in a different style than the way that you do it or the ways you want them to do it, and that style might be something that you're like, wow, that's really good. I need to learn how to do that. Even though you've been doing the same move for years and years and years, but they're doing it a different way, just a way that might look cooler than the way you're doing it, or a way that's faster than the way you do it, or smoother. And I mean, is that the way, in the way that you're talking about, just the way that I was explaining it, or what?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, that did actually kind of bring me back to the difference, once again, between like the traditional style that I really couldn't quite adapt to versus the more self-defense style. And yeah, that was actually one of the, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to kind of throw out, a sort of pros and cons to both sides. Because even with the traditional style, with Taekwondo, it's a very fast martial art. So with them, like, they emphasize seats. I mean, again, they're going for, tournament style points. But with the way I was brought up, more like the self-defense style, I was a very, my style emphasized power. So, I mean, actually, I do want to say that it was actually a really cool experience, even though I wasn't able to fully grasp it, I did enjoy being exposed to those two different styles of the same thing, because with them, I learned to kind of value speed. With my technique, I'm more of a power fighter. It's like I like to just go in and just like, bam, hit you with that kick and try and end it in one fight, which again, that's a very basic philosophy of self-defense.
Yeah.
But then if you pit me against a tournament fighter style of Taekwondo, it's like they had this one kid, it was like, man, he would just kind of just light me up like a Christmas tree. Like, every one good hit I got on him, he would be like Forong from Tekken. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that game, but yeah, like he'd be like that dude. Just like his speed was just like flying all over the place. He's getting like 15 hit combos on me. I'm like, whoa, dude, like calm down. But it's like, but again, with the difference between like how they emphasize speed and I emphasize power, but his kicks didn't really have any power though. It's just like he could like hit me with all that, and it's like I would feel like it was more of like, if anything, it would hurt my ego more than it would like hurt my arms and legs. I'm like, how did I let you get like 15 hits on me, dude? Like, how did I let that happen? So yeah, I mean, so I guess that goes back to like what we're saying about learning and teaching. It was, just a really cool opportunity where I felt like at that point I was like maybe like a brown belt or a black belt when I had left because my instructor, he had moved on. Like, we're all a military community back then, from what I learned in England. So he was relocated to the military. My family was relocated to the military. That's how we ended up in Georgia. So, so by the time I left his, training, I was basically like a black belt, at a kid's level. So, I probably would, I'd say by today's standards, I'd hold my own pretty well, but I'm not like eager to be like, all right, yeah, put me in the ring with anyone tomorrow. No. I would need to basically like start like, I'd say my skills have rusted, maybe down to, I could probably take that girl again. If I were to rematch her today, I could probably take her. I'm sure that's where my skills are at now.
Okay, Jeff, this is what I want you to do. I want you to contact that girl, and I want you to go ahead and challenge her to a fight. When you see her, I want you to just like, show her the boss is. No.
Man, I wish I could remember her name, but yeah, I would call her out right now.
All right, guys, if you're watching, don't forget to challenge the girl that has defeated you in life. That is the only way to get through and jump over challenges and obstacles, okay?
Yes, you must. You got to overcome the past to advance your future, fellas.
That's right.
Don't let your past hold you back.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to talk about a few injuries that I've had in the past. Actually, only 2 injuries that I've had in the past. 2 significant injuries, actually. One was from Muay Thai, and this was last year, actually, when I started training Muay Thai again. I realized, Jeff, I don't know if you're like this, but when you're doing kicks on a bag or on pads that someone is holding, over a time of doing so many kicks, you're going to get tired. Like, let's say you do like kicks for like 5 minutes straight, you're going to be really tired, man. And when you're tired, you get lazy. And when you're lazy, you're not going to be able to focus on what you have to do. Like for example, Ravers, in Muay Thai, when you do a kick, you pivot your foot while you kick. You might forget to pivot and you're going to twist something, or, let's say you remember to pivot, but you go back on your foot. And, with me, in one instant, I was doing a kick, and I was really, really tired. and then I rolled my ankle. That is one of the worst feelings ever. Have you ever rolled your ankle before, Jeff?
Yes, I have. Yeah, that's not a pleasant thing. Yeah, I forgot about that happening to me once. Yeah.
Okay, you forgot. I want to go ahead and I want to hear about your experience rolling your ankle. After you tell me that experience you had, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about my experience, and then I'm going to tell you about the other injury I have. I'm pretty sure that the Ravers want to know about your experience with rolling your ankle. Go ahead and tell them.
I mean, I don't know. Mine wasn't really that impressive. I mean, it was just kind of like a simple, like I twisted my ankle. Just again, like exactly like you said. You know, like when you're doing consecutive kicks, you can get lazy, you can get tired, and, you know, again, you get sloppy. And I let that exact same thing happen, and I think I actually ended up in crutches for, like, not too long. Yeah, I mean, I just, like, sprained. I think, I'm trying not to exaggerate, but I'm not sure. The way I remember it, I could be wrong, but I want to say that it did have, like one of those, like, kind of hairline fracture kind of things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just really like messed it up. Yeah, I remember at one point I was, and again, this is like when I was like a awkward sort of kind of teenage kid. So I barely was even coordinated enough to really work crutches. So I mean, I remember at one point, like we went to the store. Like I think my mom drove us to the store to get something. She had to like basically like pick me up and carry me like a baby because like I was like could not really get with the crutches. I'm like, no, I can do it. I don't know. Basically, the point I'm trying to get at was, yeah, I was like with the whole crutches and like the foot. It wasn't like a cast, but my foot was definitely like kind of wrapped up in something the way I remembered it. So, but yeah, but even like the incident itself, it was just not a good feeling. Like I was just absolutely certain I had broken it. But yeah, again, when you're doing things like kicks and stuff like that, you know, you have to. I think it comes down to just knowing when to quit. You know, it's like and not having like not having shame in quitting. If you feel, especially if you know you're uncoordinated, like I know I'm uncoordinated. if I get to that certain point, yeah, I have to just safety first and quit while I'm ahead.
I mean, I completely agree with you. Mine wasn't as cool as yours, man. I didn't wind up on crutches. The thing about mine, I remember we were in Thai, and I was training, of course, I got really tired, I got sloppy, and I rolled my ankle because, of course, I got tired. I got uncoordinated. In the beginning, you know what to do because you have done the technique thousands of times. That's just like writing, guys, okay? If you write, you're like, okay, this is easy. If you go and you try to write a book with a pencil, after writing for like 10 hours straight, you're going to be like, screw this. You're probably going to like misspell some stuff. It's normal. But with mine, it's like I wasn't on crutches, but however, I did have to get an ice pack on it. It was hard to walk. I was limping and everything like that. Another injury that really, really sucked was in jiu-jitsu. I'd probably say about, a month and a half, 2 months ago. We had this new guy join. And this new guy happened to be a wrestler. Now, with him, since he was a wrestler, he was used to being on his feet. While you're training in jiu-jitsu, and when you're in class, you start on your knees, all right? That's the safe way to start rolling, because in class, when you're training against your partners and the people you train with every day, you're not trying to kill them, With him being on his feet, it gave him more of a leverage, more of an advantage on me. So when he goes for a takedown, he's going to have more power because he's on his feet and he can launch from a higher distance than I can. So with me, I automatically, when I'm first starting jiu-jitsu, I learn on my knees. I didn't learn takedowns from standing up until my first tournament, which was really exciting, really adrenaline rushed, Anyways, when he goes for a takedown, I have my right foot behind me. All of my body weight goes on that right foot. I hear it pop and I feel it pop. It is not a good feeling at all. It sucks. And to this very day, it bothers me. Before today, it was okay. I could walk on it, I could run, but when I ran for so long, my left foot would be fine. My right foot would bother me. I feel as if I need to go to the doctor, but I don't want to because I know it's going to cost money, but I'm going to have to anyway. I'm hard-headed, I know. So earlier today, during break at work, I was walking around in a supermarket, and I just happened to feel it pop and hear it pop. All I was doing was walking. That's pretty bad. I don't know why that happened. I don't know what kind of injury I have, but tomorrow I'm going to find out what kind of injury it is. That's just the many, great things about jiu-jitsu. Here's the thing, and Jeff, you know this too, man. Whenever you sign up for any type of martial arts, on that contract waiver, whatever they call it at your gym that you go to, people, it says injuries can happen. It even said in the contract you could die.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But we signed this anyway because I mean that's what I mean, if you're living and you're not doing anything exciting, what is life for? You know, I know
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. In jiu-jitsu, when you learn a triangle choke, when you learn a rear naked choke, when you learn a guillotine, you could be choked out, you could like stop breathing and go to sleep. Bye-bye forever. But we do it anyway. If you're over the age of 18 and you sign a waiver and a contract, you're ready for it. You know? I don't know if you've ever had any injuries like that before, Jeff. I don't know if any of you guys listening have ever had an injury like that, but it freaking sucks, and I am so ready to find out what's wrong with my foot. To be honest with you, man, it sucks ass. Okay. I usually don't say things like that on when I'm streaming games, but this is a podcast. Anything goes, all right? We're getting really short on time. We have 2 more topics to talk about. Jeff, before we go to the second topic, is there anything you want to add to injuries in mixed martial arts? Anything you want to say to the ravers?
No, actually, okay, like, going back to my story, I explained I don't know why the word escaped me until now, but yeah, basically what I experienced was an ankle sprain. I basically, like, sprained my ankle, so, yeah, that was, I don't know why I couldn't figure out what that was, but yeah. But, I mean, again, going back to just, like, the nature of, like, the risks that we're taking with those sort of things, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things where, how should I say it? I mean, in a way, I feel like you're trading up on risk. I mean, because like the contract is saying, yeah, you could die from what happens in these classrooms, but especially if you're learning it for self-defense and I feel like a lot of people, as much as MMA is a sport, I believe in the martial arts as self-defense. Again, that's coming from what my background has kind of informed me with it. So, if you're learning it as a self-defense thing, then again, you're kind of taking leverage on the risk that you may someday need it. So, there is a difference between, again, life itself can be pretty freaking risky. So, I would rather take the risk of learning these things in a safe environment and having these skills when I need them, versus being trapped in a situation where it's like, oh God, I wish I knew what I was doing. I wish I knew how to handle myself in a fight.
I want to interrupt you for 1 second, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell these ravers for a second. I'm sorry, but if you guys have not purchased G Fuel, go and do it right now, okay? This stuff is great. It will give you plenty of not injury. We're talking about jiu-jitsu injury. Energy. It has no sugars. It has caffeine. Very, very low calories. Go get you some. All right, second of all, Jeff, let's talk about, well, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to get you back on here because, when you talk about things, you got to talk about things. You have people out there that go ahead and they say they want to learn mixed martial arts for self-defense, but they'll learn it because they want to hurt people. They'll do it for the wrong reasons. And, then you have the people that learn it for self-defense, and then you have other people that want to start a fight with those people or whatever, and then the people that start a fight with the experienced people get mad and they want to call the cops because those people beat their ass. Here's the thing. If you never underestimate anyone, I don't care who you are, it doesn't matter if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter if you've been training Muay Thai for 15 years. Do not go out and underestimate anyone and try to start a fight with anyone because you could get your aspirin beat, okay? And if you learning mixed martial arts for the reason of wanting to start fights for no reason at all because you think you're a badass is the wrong way to go. Just like in the movie IP, man. I think it was part 1. At the end of that movie, you saw a little boy come in, and he wanted to learn mixed martial arts. He said that he wanted to learn it because he wanted to hurt people. He wanted to beat people up. That little boy happened to be Bruce Lee. He said his name was Bruce Lee in the movie. And that is the wrong thing. IP Man told him, come back when you grow up. Now, we don't really have time to go into that, but Jeff, I want to get you back on here. You're going to be on the next episode, which is going to be episode number 4. We're going to talk more about that, but let's go ahead. We don't have time to get to the second topic. Let's go ahead and get to the main topic, the 16-year-old girl that stabbed an Uber driver with a stolen machete and knife. Jeff.
Oh man, this story. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're gonna go into that
already, though.
Yeah, I mean it's 11:49 right now. We've been on here for almost an hour, my friend.
Where did the time go? Seriously.
Exactly, man. I mean it's crazy. Let's go ahead and talk about that, bro. So this 16-year-old girl, all right. She's at Walmart. The cameras see her walking around with a machete and a knife. This little girl, I say little because if you're 16 years old, you're still a child.
Right.
This girl comes out. She hails an Uber driver. When she gets inside of the Uber car, she begins to hack at him with the machete and stab him. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find this article real fast, and I'm going to read some specific parts. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to go ahead and read to you the parts that are, the biggest part, significant, big. Anyway, she held an Uber cab. She began hacking the driver from behind. All right, that's what the prosecutor said. Let's see. This happened. She was charged on Wednesday with first-degree murder. First degree, and also, people, she was charged as an adult. If you're 16 years old, you know right from wrong. You shouldn't do stupid stuff. And if you do stupid stuff, you're gonna go in prison. You're gonna get I'm not gonna say what I was about to say because that just wouldn't be. Yeah, that would be kind of perverted in a way. Anyway, you're gonna get the grape without the G. You're gonna be put in an electric chair, all the other stuff. I don't know if they still do that, but they should for people like her because people like her decide they deserve to burn in hell. Jeff, while I'm looking for this, go ahead and tell me, give me your take on what this evil little 16-year-old bitch did. Go.
Oh man, I mean, I read the article, right? I'm like, it almost seems like kind of it was really kind of hard to believe because, apparently she's kind of walking around at Walmart at 3 a.m. I think it was a Tuesday or a Thursday, something like that. And the thing that got me was she was able to walk out of the store with these things, with the machete and with the knife, and nobody, according to the article, nobody stopped her. None of the employees, bothered to stop her. They let her.
But the question is, why did they not stop her? Why?
Exactly. Now, actually, if you see the article, I wish I remember her name. But anyway, the article shows a picture of her, and I mean, I'm not going to play the race card, but I'm going to flash it just for a second.
Eliza Wozni, I think her name is.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, and I mean, I guess and this is in Chicago, so I mean, it's a very, very big spray city. So, but the thing I'm getting at though is she's this kind of cute little 16-year-old, blonde-haired white girl, where it's okay, now if she were a 16-year-old black guy, they would, the security would have been on her white on right, she would not have been able to look at the machete and the knife.
Exactly. Okay, because I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Jeff. All right, let's go back black and white. There was a video I was watching not long ago. This is not a new video. All of you viewers should have seen this video by now. There was a white guy walking down the street. I forgot what kind of rifle he had. And he was walking with a rifle. He was stopped by a police officer. The police officer asked him why he had the rifle. That's all. He told the police officer told him, okay, it's fine, go ahead, don't do anything stupid. Then they switched to a black guy with the same rifle. All right? The cop stopped him, got out of the car, pulled his gun out, told him to get on the ground. The black guy was doing the same thing the white guy was doing, which was just walking with the rifle exposed. If you're walking with the rifle exposed, at least people know you have something on you.
Exactly. Their eyes are going to be on you. Hey, if something goes crazy, they know exactly who to run from. They know exactly where to point to the student, get the proper authority's attention. So, you're not being you're not surprised to anyone. If you're carrying your gun out in the open like that. So,
Exactly, and it's simply because people find black people more threatening than white people, which is stupid. If I see like okay, if there's like a little black boy that's 6 years old carrying a gun, and then there's like a 20-year-old white boy carrying a gun, or a white man carrying a gun, I'm not going to look at that black kid and say, hey, you need to stop doing that. I'm going to look more towards the white kid and say, stop doing that. You know, I'm not going to get into race like that or anything, but it's the truth. That's how America is, you know.
And I feel like that's exactly what this young girl was kind of preying on with that situation. I mean, again, like I don't know, like the picture, you know, I don't want to criticize the picture because, I mean, I know how those sort of things work. You know, hey, they probably picked one that kind of deliberately played into that angle for the article, but she kind of looked a little kind of crazy-eyed in that picture. But yeah, but basically what I was getting at, I feel like the media does like to play on that sort of thing too, though. Again, but she's, you know, she's a young, white, you know, probably in a decent picture, a bit more attractive and innocent looking, but again, she can play to that and get away with that sort of behavior, which, I mean, granted, okay, she did get caught, and there are consequences, you know, in process, but for the situation to have played out the exact way it did, according to the article, she was able to get her weapons completely unhindered, and she did her dirt. She took care, you know, she ended up, you know, taking care of the guy. The guy was able to point her out to the police.
Yep, before he died.
Oh, yeah, right before he died, you know, from like all these, you know, stab wounds and, you know, just, yeah, deep cuts and everything. So she, you know, was able to handle her business with that. And now the end part of the story is what also gets me as well, especially in light of, you know, the recent epidemic we've been having as far as, you know, police brutality, especially towards a certain demographic of our country, black people. So how they handled this was actually the police remembered that they come with standard issue tasers. Now, the thing that gets me about this is, you know, as Proxy has discussed, you know, hey, if you're the wrong color and you have the wrong equipment, regardless of whether you are intending to be a threat or not, you're automatically perceived as a threat.
Exactly.
And you're treated as one.
All right,
Regardless of
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. Let's say, all right, Jeff. Let's say you and I both have a machete and a taser. I have a taser in my right hand and a machete in my left hand. You have the same thing. If I walk down the street, I guarantee you I'm not going to be harassed as much as, you know, you are, because I'm white. Now, unless I'm in Harlem. Hold on, I can barely hear you, bud. Go ahead and say what you just said again.
Oh, man, Harlem might be the great equalizer there. We might actually be equal threats in Harlem.
Old Harlem, man. All right, now continue saying what you were saying, man.
All right. So, again, in this situation, this girl, she was not shot. In fact, she was actually given several verbal warnings before the police actually tased her. I mean, like, they kind of chased her down a little bit, but yeah, I mean, like, they kind of went exactly according to protocol. Like, they did not miss a single step. Now, again, had this been another scenario, I mean, unless Chicago PD, I mean, you know, I could be mistaken, in Chicago PD may be a bit more progressive, or maybe they've learned from, you know, the experiences of how these sort of things went down in other cities. So, I mean, like, the less cynical side of me wants to give that benefit of the doubt, but the more realistic side of me wants to, you know, would still kind of figure that they would have handled the situation kind of differently with if the instigator were of a slightly different ethnicity. So, actually, if you don't mind, are we getting any comments on this? Like, just
hold on. Let me find out, because I'm on the article right now, man, and I really wasn't looking. We've gone down to only one person watching. That's Magikarp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, Magikarp was saying earlier that it's boring, but I honestly want to talk about what I want to talk about. So, let's see. Magikarp says I'm half black. But if you go further back, I'm purely Portuguese.
Holy crap! Actually, my ex-girlfriend has that same ethnic makeup.
All right, first of all, I want to go ahead and say, all right, the driver, he was identified as Grant Nelson. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say, God rest your soul, Grant.
Yeah,
you know, bull crap like this happens like way too many times. This girl does not, she deserves to be put under the ground. She deserves to burn in hell for what she did. She already knew what she was doing was wrong. I don't know what in the hell was in her head to make her do this kind of stuff, but she did it. There's nothing that I could do. There's nothing that you could do, Jeff. There's nothing that anybody could do to stop people that do, stuff like this. But they're going to continue to do it. And all we can do, honestly, is sit back and wait to read the article about things like that happening. It's sad, it's pathetic, but it happens. He was a 34-year-old resident of, as you said, Illinois. He's been working for Uber since February of 2016. That was a long time. And then this evil bitch decides to come up and do that, I mean, it's not right. It really isn't. That goes to show that you never know what type of, how somebody is. You don't know what type of person somebody is just by looking at them.
Right.
And
the thing that gets me too, like even just like on a less politically charged end of it is like, with some like I've always been like suspicious of like the driver, but these sort of things kind of remind you that hey, you've got to be careful of the passengers too. It's like I've always been afraid of getting that one crazy. I mean, I've only used Uber like maybe twice in my life ever, but I mean, it's kind of like this sort of running joke of hey, I hope we don't get like some weird psycho creepy guy as our driver or whatever. But this kind of flipped the script on it for me. I'm like, wow, looking at it from their perspective, they are just as kind of in the dark of what they're going to get as you are as a passenger.
Yeah.
So,
and, okay. I'm gonna interrupt you. Tit-Cat, welcome. I do not have Snapchat yet, but I'll get it soon, man. All right. Continue saying what you were saying, Jeff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's just kind of going to show that, man. I guess both parties have to be really careful of who they're dealing with, and like realistically, like again, my heart goes out for him and his family. Having this just really freak of nature, just random tragedy kind of happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what Uber's going to do about that. I mean, I know I'm not expecting them to necessarily compensate the family or anything like that, but I mean, I'm kind of wondering what sort of protocols this might initiate as far as protecting their other drivers in the future from this type of thing. So
what I mean,
I'm kind of wondering what happens from here, basically.
This was reported less than a day ago, man, and if I don't know how different Uber is from a taxi company because I've never taken Uber before. If you have cab drivers out there, they carry guns on them. Sometimes,
right.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you don't see the gun, but they're going to have a gun on them. If you mess around with a cab driver, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a lead salad. In the words of Edward Norton from Fight Club, Just, I mean, it's really, really stupid. I also, just like you, Jeff, I'm curious to see what Uber is going to do. I hope Uber does something about this. I hope they enforce some type of law that's going to be able to let them carry weapons. But I mean, then again, if they're all able to carry weapons, you have some Uber drivers out there that are freaking maniacs,
right?
And they might overutilize this and say, hey, I have this. I was able to be an asshole before. I'm going to use this and be more of an asshole than I was, and I'm going to become, the rule of the world now because I have a gun, because Uber allowed me to do that. So it's a catch-22. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. You're damned if you don't, simply because other evil women will be able to do that, or men. No feminists out there. Please don't take offense to me. And the catch also, if you do, they could take advantage of that. Uber doesn't know, in my opinion, they don't know who they hire. They could have people in interviews, but they'll probably tell the people, okay, we do a background checks on you. Please give me a break here. You don't know that you're... Say what?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, even according to the article, I think if I read it correctly, I believe they said that she had no prior, record of just doing anything weird or out there. That was just her. She just snapped. She was apparently one of those good kids, never did any wrong to anybody type of people too. So apparently, it's pretty easy to sneak by a background check, So it only takes that one person or that one bad day, I guess, as they say.
I mean, and you're absolutely right, man. You really are. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be a cab driver or an Uber. I'm not going to be a transporter for anyone, simply because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if your passenger is going to have a mini portable chainsaw hidden in their jacket, trench coat, or whatever. But if I was a cab driver or something, I wouldn't let anybody with a trench coat in my car. That's just what I'm saying, I'm not hating on anybody with trench coats, but you never know what they're hiding inside of it. I say that, from, watching movies because, they have bombs and everything like that. Not saying they're going to have bombs, but people are freaking crazy nowadays. The world is nothing but complete crap. The generation of children growing up is just complete trash. In my opinion, I say that, and I can back it up because of evidence and everything like that. I just have no words, man. I honestly have no words, We've been on this podcast for, I would say, about an hour now. And let me see how long we've been on here.
All right.
It's we've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes, but we did get on before the podcast. God. Yeah, it's been a while, man. We've been just
wow.
Yeah, we've been talking about so much stuff. We didn't even get to the second topic.
I was about to say, we didn't even get to our random topic.
Yeah, we're going to have to get to that next time because these two topics have taken up so much time, and it's so good that they did, I mean, guys, ravers, if you're going to take an Uber, transportation, don't hack them to death. If you're going to take a cab anywhere, don't try to kill them because cabs carry guns and Ubers don't. You already know that because of the report that we just read. I think, in my opinion, if the Uber driver would have had a gun on him or anything like that, he could have defended himself. But here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. Even if he had a gun, when you're getting stabbed multiple times with stolen machetes and knives, what a dumbass she was, it's going to be kind of hard to be able to pull that gun out and defend yourself, because if you get stabbed one time in the right place, that's going to just eliminate your ability to comprehend what you have to do to defend yourself. Jeff, I mean, you'd say I'm right.
Right? Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially with, because, again, it's not like every Uber driver necessarily comes ready for that sort of thing. I mean, so I'd say he definitely had the element of surprise on him, if nothing else. So, once you kind of lose that, lose that even ground, I'm pretty sure that was kind of hard for him to regain back. I mean, again, speaking from the sidelines and after the fact, I'm sure it's pretty easy to be like, oh yeah, well he should have, done this and that, and been choke slammed her, and it's all easy to say in speculation, but in the heat of the moment, it kind of, we weren't there, so we don't know, how easy it would have been for him to do any of those things.
Exactly. So, I mean, and that's kind of like whenever I watch Child's Play, and I see Chucky going around killing people, I tell myself, I wish that little, mother freaking doll would have came and tried to kill me. I'd kick him in the face. But here's the thing, if I'm asleep and he comes and cuts my ankles, there's nothing I can do. If he cuts my Achilles tendon, I'm not going to be able to run after him. I'm screwed. And I would think that, as an Uber driver or as a taxi driver, you kind of have to expect these things. But if they don't happen to you, you're going to be like, oh, everything's okay. You're going to get really comfortable with the job. And, okay, let's say, what if he got too comfortable with his position as an Uber driver? And maybe, I don't know, maybe he just thought nothing's going to happen because nothing has happened, because he was working there for over a year when this happened. Would you say he got too comfortable with it or what?
Maybe. But then, I would say possibly. I'm pretty sure maybe the first couple of times, he probably did have to ease into that sense of, hey, they're all people. It became easier and easier, I would imagine, for him to kind of push his, to lower his guard. And not to mention, hey, in a car, a typical car setup, his back is obviously going to be to her anyway.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if they might have even had a friendly chat. He would have been like, hey, how's your day been? Blah blah blah. Where we get, and everything kind of went to a smooth routine until next thing you know, stab. So,
Yeah, and I mean, if in the article they said that she held the Uber driver and then she started stabbing him, they didn't say if they actually did have a conversation. So you're completely right. I agree with you. They could have had a friendly conversation and then she could have went stab, 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 Chucky on him, you know? I think that, you know, just to be safe, Uber cars and cab drivers need to be more like police cars. What do police cars have in them? They have bulletproof glass. They have like bars or whatever. I don't know. I mean, they need to make it to where it's impossible for these passengers in the back seat to actually get to them. Because if they have that, there's going to be more likely chance that they live than die. That's just my opinion. Jeff, what do you think about that, man? I mean, do you think they should have this stuff like police cars, or do you think that will make the passengers feel more like prisoners? I mean, let me hear what you think about that.
all right, well, yeah, I feel like, unfortunately, they might have to do something like that because from what I do understand, it's like with the Uber system, like the drivers are also rated on like a courtesy system. So it's very possible that, he might have actually, which again kind of plays into them kind of lowering their guard. I mean, you can't really kind of fake, you can fake it, but again, it won't be really genuine courtesy if you're, suspicious of your passengers. So I'm sure he probably did everything he could to present a friendly demeanor and create a welcoming environment for her and everything. So again, whether it was like intentional or not, he had to create an environment where his guard was even lowered, even in regards to that. So I would understand where setting up a certain barrier between the driver and the customer that would kind of be counterintuitive to that sort of courteous atmosphere they're trying to provide, but in the name of safety, it might actually be a necessity that would override that. So as much as it would kind of hurt their image in that regard, or it would actually be a strong move in showing that they do care about their drivers and ultimately even the safety of their passengers as well.
Okay, now, I mean, I can understand because if I get into a cab or if I get into an Uber car and I see bulletproof glass and everything like that, I'm going to feel like, okay, what the hell? This is like,
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not, all right. Before I say what I'm about to say, I'm not comparing this incident that happened with skaters. But you have, all right, let's say as a skater, if you want to go out and you want to do grinds or slides on a rail, you might have people that have put up blockers on the rail. And if you don't know what a blocker is, it's just like sometimes a piece of metal, sometimes a piece of wood, depending on what you're going to slide on, that people will put on there to stop you from grinding or sliding. Because they're like, okay, all skaters are going to do this and destroy the surfaces. But, other skaters go other places and they find surfaces they can slide on that don't have that on it. And if certain companies have bulletproof glass and stuff like that in the back of their car, then they're going to call other companies, and those other companies might not have that. So, I mean, I don't know. Cab companies and Uber drivers are more than likely going to keep their cars the way they are. I kind of hope that this article and just this incident helps them do something to make it a safer environment, And this article is about an Uber driver, not a cab driver, if you think about it. Because people know cab drivers carry weapons. I've never heard about an Uber driver carrying a gun or anything on him like that. I'm going to say that over. I've said that a lot. I'm going to say it over and over again, I think maybe if it's known that Uber drivers carry guns on them, then this wouldn't happen. Then again, you never know. Because some people are crazy. They don't care, I don't know.
And I mean, I'd actually agree with you on that. I feel like that would actually be the best kind of medium in between. I mean, again, like you've been consistently comparing Uber drivers to cab drivers, and it's like, again, even with your cab drivers, you don't really know them, and I mean, they're not, and in fact, they don't even have the same kind of courtesy standards per se that Uber has. I mean, Uber, like their drivers are, they drive for ratings, so ratings are very important to Uber drivers, from what I understand. A cab driver's not so much. I mean, when a cab driver's being courteous and polite, it's got nothing to do with any sort of like ratings he's trying to get. His job is to get you from point A to point B and collect that money by the time he delivers you to B. So Any courtesies or that's just him being a decent human being trying to pass the time, or potentially de-escalate any potential threat that situations that like what happened to this guy. Hey, if if you're a psychopath and the guy's having a nice conversation with you, odds are, unless you're just out for blood like this girl was, hey, you're going to be like, okay, not this guy. This guy's not the one. I've got no beef with this guy. I'm going to kill somebody else. So I can see where it might be more of a safety thing even for the driver. But I guess the point I was getting at was, you don't really know your cab drivers, and they're not required to be courteous. Uber drivers, on the other hand, you tend to get a little bit of information about them, and they're required to be courteous. So I feel like, you don't know the cab driver, he's got a gun. You know the Uber driver, he should have a gun as well. So I really don't see why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So, especially when we're seeing things like this prove that they do need to have some sort of, way to defend themselves from crazy passengers like that.
Man, I would agree with you 100%, man. And I think that if it wasn't that guy that was driving the Uber car, if it would have been some other guy or a gal, it would have happened. The same thing would have happened, I don't think it was like preference or anything like that, and I just hope that Uber does something to better help their employees, because God help their employees. After reading this article, there's not going to be anyone that wants to get a job as an Uber driver because of crazy bitches like this. That's just my opinion, and I think my opinion is legit, and I think that matters. We're actually out of time, but this has been a really fun podcast. Before I end this, I want to go ahead and say to you guys, if you haven't got your E Proxy gear yet, hats, glasses, t-shirts, so on and so forth, go ahead and get it. If you want your E Proxy gear, contact me, Twitter. That's the best place to find me. Send me a direct message, I'll tell you how to do it. All right? Jeff, is there is there anything you want to say to the ravers before I go ahead and end this podcast, man?
Well, I just want to say, hey, thank you for having me here, Proxy, and I actually enjoyed the conversation. I'd love to come back if you'd have me, and, to the ravers, you guys have a great night, and I hope I didn't bore you guys to death.
Hey, well, I will definitely have you back on here. It's always fun to have, just to talk with you. In the past on here, you're always so informative. You keep the conversation going, and that is something that I love, more than anything. So thank you for being here, Jeff. Ravers, take care of yourself. This has been the E Proxy Podcast. If you have enjoyed this, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't. I will subscribe back to you. I'll see you, Ravers, next time. You take care of yourself.